Pause right here, beloved soul, because something far beyond coincidence has just aligned itself with your existence, and this alignment carries your identity woven into its core. What unfolded moments ago did not happen in silence or in abstraction. It occurred within the highest chambers of heaven, where decisions are not debated but declared, and your name was spoken with intention, clarity, and authority. A verdict was released over your life not as a possibility but as a conclusion, and the weight of that decree has already begun shifting realities you have been struggling against for far too long. You are not reading this because you were curious, bored, or scrolling aimlessly. You are here because timing itself bent to escort you into this moment. There is a narrow window surrounding you now, a sacred interval that will not repeat in this exact form again, and what you do within this span determines how the released blessing will anchor itself in your life. This is not pressure meant to frighten you. It is urgency meant to awaken you. You have been asking for clarity, for a sign, for something undeniable that would confirm you are not forgotten, not invisible, not disqualified. This is that confirmation. Heaven does not rush, but when it moves with precision, and you are standing in one of those precise moments right now. You may not realize it yet, but forces beyond your awareness have been mobilized on your behalf. Not because you earned them through perfection, not because you never doubted, not because you never broke down or questioned whether your prayers were still heard, but because endurance itself has a voice, and yours has been crying out longer than you know. There has been observation, not accusation. There has been witness, not judgment. Every unseen tear, every silent collapse, every moment you held yourself together for others while unraveling inside has been noted. Nothing about your journey has been ignored, and nothing about your suffering has been wasted. What looked like delay was not neglect. What felt like silence was not absence. It was orchestration happening beyond the range of your senses. Right now, something is being asked of you, not as a ritual, not as superstition, but as alignment. Action seals intention. Response activates movement. When heaven releases a decree, it looks for agreement on earth. And that agreement does not come from words alone, but from deliberate engagement. This moment is asking you to step out of passive waiting and into conscious participation. You are not being tested. You are being invited. Invited to claim what was already decided in your favor. Invited to say yes before you see evidence, before circumstances rearrange themselves, before proof arrives. Faith has always moved ahead of sight, and this moment is no different. There is a reason your heart feels stirred as you read this. There is a reason your breath may feel heavier, or your chest warmer, or your awareness sharper. This is not imagination, and it is not coincidence. You have worn strength as armor for so long that you forgot what rest feels like. You learned how to smile through disappointment, how to encourage others while your own hope thinned, how to keep going when stopping felt easier. You told yourself that maybe this is just how life is, that maybe some people are meant to survive rather than thrive, to endure rather than overflow. But that narrative is being dismantled now. You have cried alone more times than anyone knows. You have stared into the dark hours of the night, wondering why anxiety grips you when everything should be fine, wondering why your mind replays conversations and regrets when your body desperately needs rest. You have questioned whether your prayers dissolve into the ceiling, whether your words still carry weight, whether your faith has grown weak or worn thin. You have watched others receive breakthroughs and wondered quietly if you were somehow overlooked, skipped, forgotten in the process. During the day, you present strength, you fulfill roles, you reassure those who depend on you. Betrayals that fractured trust at a depth you never fully recovered from. Rejections that quietly rewrote how you see yourself. You questioned your worth not because you lacked value, but because pain distorts perspective. You wondered if something inside you was fundamentally damaged, permanently compromised, incapable of restoration. You carried pain that professionals could not fully explain, and exhaustion that remedies could not relieve. This was not weakness. This was the cost of carrying too much for too long without relief. And yet, even in that state, you remained faithful in ways you do not give yourself credit for. You showed up. You kept believing enough to keep going. You prayed even when expectation faded. You hoped even when disappointment made hope feel dangerous. You buried dreams not because they lacked life, but because protecting your heart felt necessary for survival. You stopped asking for certain things not because you stopped wanting them, but because another unanswered prayer felt unbearable. What you did not see is that you were never alone in those moments. You were watched with compassion, not scrutiny. Advocacy was taking place beyond your awareness. Reports were being made on your behalf. Your endurance was being presented as evidence. And there came a moment when continuation without intervention was no longer acceptable. Escalation occurred. What could not wait any longer was brought before the highest authority, not as a casual request, but as an urgent matter requiring immediate action. Right now, a shift is occurring that you will feel before you fully understand it. Dormant potential is being reawakened. Gifts, muted by fear, are stirring again. Dreams you assumed were dead are being revisited with new breath. This is not nostalgia. This is revival. What pain buried is not lost. What tears tried to extinguish still carries flame. There is a touch being extended over your life, and this touch does not accuse, shame, or condemn. It lifts, it restores, it strengthens. When that kind of lifting occurs, no opposing force can override it. What is happening now is not symbolic. It is active. It is dismantling limitations you accepted as permanent. It is loosening chains you normalized. It is opening paths you assumed were closed forever. You may feel sensations you cannot logically explain. Warmth, tingling, pressure, stillness, heightened awareness. These are not signs of fear or malfunction. They are indicators of alignment. Your inner world is responding before your external world catches up. There has been movement in realms you cannot see, undoing strategies that were designed to stall you indefinitely. Resistance exists, but it does not prevail. Power has already been released that exceeds opposition in every measurable way. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not running out of time. You are arriving exactly when you were meant to. Do not measure what is unfolding by clocks or calendars. Do not interpret delay as denial or silence as absence. What looked like stagnation was preparation. What felt like loss was repositioning. What caused confusion will soon become the proof that timing was intentional. You will look back on this period not with regret, but with understanding. Within a short span, tangible confirmation will begin to surface. Not vague signs, not ambiguous coincidences, but clear markers that validate what is being activated now. Financial movement will occur in unexpected ways, not as struggle but as relief, not as scarcity but as evidence. Connections thought lost will resurface, carrying purpose, closure, or opportunity. Insight will come through dreams and inner clarity, revealing which paths are ending and which are opening with unmistakable direction. You are not meant to walk this alone. What flows through you is meant to reach others. Sharing what you receive does not diminish it. It multiplies it. Your willingness becomes a channel. Your obedience becomes a bridge. Someone connected to you is waiting for the courage you are stepping into right now. Do not allow fear to dictate your response. Do not allow old narratives to convince you this is too good to be true. Do not let past disappointment veto present activation. You are surrounded by more support than you realize. If you could see what stands around you now, doubt would collapse under the weight of revelation. What you are stepping into is not a momentary lift, but a turning point. Finances will not move alone. Health will not restore in isolation. Purpose will not remain vague. Relationships will not stay fractured. Momentum will touch everything it passes through. This is not a temporary high. It is a redirected trajectory. Others will notice. Some will question. Some will try to rationalize what is happening in your life. Let them. You do not owe explanation. Your peace will speak. Your stability will answer. Your joy will testify. What unfolds next will not require defense. This is not the end of your struggle. It is the end of your waiting. The season has shifted whether your emotions have caught up yet or not. What was blocked is moving. What was withheld is releasing. What was delayed is arriving with intention. You were seen on the night you almost gave up. You were heard when words failed you. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was forgotten. What was meant to break you became the ground for what will now sustain you. The weight you carried in those years was never meant to crush you, even though at times it felt unbearable. Even though there were moments you genuinely wondered how much longer you could keep going without something inside you finally giving way. You survived, not because you were numb, not because you were indifferent, but because something stronger than despair was quietly holding you together. You mistook that strength for mere habit, for routine, for obligation, but it was grace operating beneath your awareness. Grace does not always feel gentle. Sometimes it feels like persistence when you want to stop, like breath when you want silence, like standing when you want to lie down and disappear. That grace never left you, even when you thought you had drifted too far to be reached. There were nights when you replayed your life like a courtroom trial inside your mind, presenting evidence against yourself, reliving mistakes, wondering if different choices would have produced a different reality. You interrogated your past, searching for the exact moment things went wrong, believing that if you could just identify the failure, you could explain the pain. But your life was never a case of wrong turns alone. It was a path that included valleys you were meant to walk through, not because suffering was required, but because depth was being formed. Shallow ground cannot hold great harvest. You were being expanded internally long before anything external could shift. You learned how to function while hurting, how to be reliable while exhausted, how to be generous while feeling empty. You became the person others leaned on, not realizing that no one was leaning back toward you. You told yourself it was fine, that you could manage, that others had it worse, that gratitude should silence your grief. But pain does not disappear when ignored. It waits patiently for acknowledgement. Heaven saw what you minimized. Heaven took seriously what you brushed off. Heaven did not measure your worth by how well you hid your wounds. There were prayers you whispered, and prayers you never finished. There were requests you framed carefully, and others you were too afraid to articulate because disappointment had trained you to expect less. You told yourself you were being realistic when in truth you were being cautious with hope. Hope felt risky. Expectation felt dangerous. Believing too much had hurt before. So you learned to believe just enough to survive, not enough to overflow. And still, even that restrained faith was enough to keep the connection alive. What is unfolding now does not require you to be perfect, fearless, or unwavering. It requires honesty. It requires presence. It requires your willingness to receive without negotiating terms. You are not being asked to prove yourself. You are being asked to trust that restoration does not arrive as a reward for flawlessness, but as a response to endurance. You stayed. You continued. You did not disappear, even when disappearing felt like relief. That matters more than you know. You may notice that certain thoughts no longer grip you the way they used to. Patterns that once felt automatic are loosening. Emotional responses that controlled you are losing intensity. This is not coincidence. This is recalibration. Old survival mechanisms are being retired because they are no longer necessary. You are entering a phase where guarding yourself is no longer your primary assignment. Expansion is. There are opportunities approaching that will feel almost unfamiliar because they arrive without struggle. You may initially distrust ease, wondering what the hidden cost is, because hardship trained you to expect resistance. But ease does not mean carelessness. It means alignment. When effort meets timing, friction dissolves. You are stepping into a season where effort finally meets timing. You will notice resources aligning, conversations shifting, doors opening without the exhaustive pushing you are used to. This may feel disorienting at first. Let it. Do not sabotage momentum by insisting it must be hard to be real. Some blessings arrive quietly, not with noise but with relief. Some breakthroughs feel like peace before they feel like celebration. Your body will respond to this shift. Stress you normalized will begin releasing. Tension stored in muscles will ease. Sleep will deepen. Energy will return in unexpected waves. Healing does not always announce itself dramatically. Sometimes it reveals itself through the absence of pain you assumed was permanent. Pay attention to these subtle restorations. They are not small. They are foundational. Relationships will also recalibrate. Some connections will strengthen naturally. Others will fade without drama. This is not loss. It is refinement. You are no longer required to carry people who only knew how to take from you. You are no longer obligated to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Your circle will become lighter, more honest, more reciprocal. This is protection, not isolation. You will be trusted with more because you have proven you can carry weight without becoming bitter. You will be entrusted with influence because you learned humility through hardship. You will be given responsibility because you understand consequence. None of this is accidental. Character was being forged long before opportunity appeared. There will be moments soon when you pause and realize that the anxiety that once dominated your mornings has loosened its grip. You will catch yourself smiling without forcing it. You will notice gratitude replacing dread. These are not emotional tricks. They are indicators that the internal environment has changed. When the inside shifts, the outside must eventually follow. Do not rush this process by demanding immediate proof in every area at once. Allow unfolding. Allow sequence. Some things will arrive quickly. Others will arrive with intention. Timing does not mean denial. It means order. Everything is aligning in a way that protects you from being overwhelmed by what you once begged for. You are about to understand why certain prayers were delayed. You will see how receiving them earlier would have harmed you, limited you, or attached you to people and environments that were not prepared for who you are becoming. Gratitude will replace frustration when clarity arrives. You will not regret the waiting once you see what the waiting preserved. Your voice will carry new authority. When you speak, it will land differently. When you decide, it will hold weight. You will no longer second-guess every instinct. Discernment is sharpening. Confidence is stabilizing. You are learning to trust yourself again, not from ego, but from alignment. And yes, provision will come. Tangible, measurable provision. Not just enough to survive, but enough to breathe. Enough to plan. Enough to give. Financial relief is not separate from spiritual restoration. It is often evidence of it. Lack constrained your imagination. Abundance will expand it responsibly. You will look back at this moment and recognize it as a threshold. Not because everything changed instantly, but because everything began moving irreversibly. There is no return to who you were when you believed survival was the highest goal. Living is reclaiming its place. This is not the end of challenge, but it is the end of stagnation. Growth will replace paralysis. Movement will replace waiting. Clarity will replace confusion. You are not late to your life. You are arriving with wisdom most people never develop. And as this continues, you will become a signpost for others. Not through preaching, not through performance, but through presence, people will feel something different around you. Peace is contagious when it is genuine. Stability invites trust. Your life will speak even when you are silent. Hold steady, stay open, receive without fear. You are not about to lose what is coming. You are finally prepared to hold it. There will come a moment when you realize that the inner dialogue which once spoke harshly to you has softened. The voice that constantly questioned your worth, replayed your failures, and predicted disappointment will lose its authority. It will still try to speak, but it will no longer sound convincing. You will begin to recognize it as an echo of a former season, not a prophecy of your future. This is one of the quiet miracles people rarely talk about: the restoration of self-trust. When that returns, everything else follows more easily than you expect. You will start making decisions without apologizing to yourself for choosing peace. You will say no without guilt and yes without fear. You will stop explaining your boundaries as if they are weaknesses and begin honoring them as wisdom earned through experience. This is not you becoming hardened. This is you becoming whole. Soft where it matters, firm where it protects, and clear where it once felt foggy. There will be days soon when you wake up and realize that the heaviness you used to brace for each morning is no longer waiting for you. You will notice space in your thoughts, space to imagine again, space to plan without anxiety hijacking every possibility. This does not mean your life will be without responsibility. It means responsibility will no longer feel like a sentence. It will feel manageable, even purposeful. You may be surprised by how quickly momentum builds once it begins. One shift will lead to another. One open door will reveal several more behind it. Conversations will happen that feel timed rather than forced. Opportunities will surface that align with your values instead of draining them. You will no longer have to betray yourself to move forward. That chapter is closing. There will be moments when you instinctively reach for old coping mechanisms, overworking, withdrawing, doubting only to realize they no longer fit. They will feel unnecessary, even uncomfortable. This is growth. You are shedding strategies that were useful when you were in survival mode but are out of place in expansion. Let them go without judgment. They did their job. They got you here. Your perspective on time will change. You will stop feeling rushed by comparison. You will stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. You will understand that arriving later with clarity is far better than arriving early with confusion. Your path has never been behind. It has been precise. There will be conversations where people comment on your calm, your clarity, your presence. They may not know what shifted, but they will sense it. Something settled inside you, something anchored. You are no longer easily shaken because your foundation is no longer external. Validation no longer determines your direction. Approval no longer defines your value. You will begin to see patterns break that once felt generational. Responses you inherited will lose their grip. Cycles you assumed were permanent will end quietly through conscious choice. You will realize that healing did not just change you, it altered what flows through you. This is how legacy transforms, not through grand declarations, but through daily alignment. There will be practical evidence too. Numbers will change, accounts will adjust, delays will resolve. What once required relentless effort will begin responding to simple action. This is not luck, it is leverage. Alignment creates efficiency. You will do less and see more movement because resistance has been reduced. You will become more discerning about where you invest your energy. Not everything deserves your attention anymore. You will stop chasing what runs from you and start stewarding what arrives willingly. This discernment will protect your peace and multiply your impact. Do not be surprised if old memories surface briefly, not to wound you again, but to show you how far you have come. What once triggered you will now simply inform you. You will observe your past without reliving it. This is integration. This is freedom. Your faith will mature beyond desperation. It will become steady, grounded, relational. You will no longer seek signs to prove you are supported. You will move with the quiet confidence of someone who knows. Knowing changes posture. Knowing changes tone. Knowing changes pace. You will discover joy again, not as a fleeting emotion, but as a stable undercurrent. Laughter will come easier. Gratitude will feel natural. You will enjoy moments without scanning for what might go wrong next. This is not naivete. It is trust restored. There will still be challenges, but they will meet a different version of you. You will not crumble at the first sign of resistance. You will assess, adjust, and proceed. Resilience will replace reactivity. Wisdom will replace panic. And perhaps most importantly, you will stop questioning whether you deserve good things. You will receive without shrinking. You will celebrate without waiting for loss. You will hold joy without bracing for impact. This is a learned skill, and you are learning it now. Everything that is unfolding is cumulative. Nothing stands alone. Each restoration supports the next. Each healing creates space for expansion. Each alignment accelerates the following one. You are not restarting. You are continuing with clarity. Stay present. Stay receptive. Stay honest. What is coming does not require striving, only participation. You are no longer chasing your life. You are living it. Amen.